Good evening. You're watching the news tonight, your daily roundup of all that has happened across India and the world. I'm Ishan Russell, and these are the headlines that we're tracking this evening. Amid mounting student protests, Hyderabad University reinstates suspended Dalit students, but pressure mounts on HRD Minister Smriti Irani as Dalit faculty accuses her of making misleading statements. Probing the Pathankot attack, the National Investigation Agency conducts raids in 6 places across Punjab. The government unveils plans to fight the crisis on the pulses front. Food Minister Ram Vilas Paswan says 45 lakh tons of pulses will be imported to meet domestic demand. Sensex ends below the 24,000 mark after over 20 months, sheds 100 points to close at 23,900 after persistent selling in Asian shares. And at the World Economic Forum in Davos, despite falling exports, volatile currencies and stock market jitters, Finance Minister Arun Jaitley says India can achieve 8 to 9% growth. The top story this evening, 4 days after the suicide by Rohit Vemula, the University of Hyderabad today lifted the suspension on 4 Dalit students who were suspended along with him. The incident that sparked outrage across the nation also led to a political war of words between the government and the opposition.
Despite the HRD minister's clarification on Wednesday, Dalit faculty members threatening to quit their administrative positions at the Hyderabad University. Students said they plan to enlist support from campuses across the country to expand their protest against what they called misrepresenting facts in Rohit Vemula's suicide case. Various political parties also expressed support for their protests.
कल स्मृति ईरानी जी का जो बयान था, वो बयान घोर शर्मनाक बयान है। जिस तरह से उन्होंने इस पूरे के पूरे मामले को दलित वर्सेस नॉन दलित बनाने की कोशिश की, उन्होंने झूठ पे झूठ बोलने की कोशिश की।
हैदराबाद यूनिवर्सिटी का 4 पीएचडी दलित स्कॉलर्स की सस्पेंशन को वापस लेने का निर्णय भारतीय जनता पार्टी, यूनिवर्सिटी अथॉरिटीज और एचआरडी मिनिस्ट्री के अपराध बोध और उनकी एंटी दलित एजेंडा में संलिप्तता का सबसे बड़ा सबूत है।
Later in the afternoon, the university revoked the suspension of 4 Dalit students who were suspended along with V. Rohit, although the barrage of criticism continued.
Executive committee under the chairmanship of the Vice Chancellor, Professor Apparao, convened a meeting and they have taken a decision to revoke the suspension of these students completely. Now other demands are there, other demands will be discussed with the student leaders.
Why we cannot accommodate ideas which are different from us? Why we cannot accommodate people who have a different set of belonging identity than what we have? I think it's a failure not only of the government, it's a failure of us as a nation.
Just an allegation unnecessarily. Congress is resorting to a politics of vendetta. They are sensationalizing this suicide of a Dalit boy. They are communalizing, they are trying to divide the society.
Smriti Irani, the HRD minister yesterday, rather resolving the issue and be sensitive and human, but she started speaking lies. She's saying that there was Dalit professor who was headed the investigation team of subcommittee of executive council, which is blatantly a lie. That's the reason the Dalit professors tended to resign, because she's misquoted.
Members of the Dalit faculty issued a statement that said an upper caste professor, Vipin Srivastava, took the decision to suspend the students. They even pointed out that no Dalit representation had in fact been given representation in the Executive Council of the University of Hyderabad. BJP allies said the government is conducting a probe.
और दलित सेना जो हमारी पार्टी का एक बहुत ही मजबूत प्रकोष्ठ है, उसके राष्ट्रीय अध्यक्ष रामचंद्र पासवान जी, इनके नेतृत्व में एक डेलीगेशन कल हमारे राष्ट्रीय अध्यक्ष के आदेश पर हैदराबाद सेंट्रल यूनिवर्सिटी गया था। वहाँ पे इन्होंने छात्रों से मुलाकात की और लोक जनशक्ति पार्टी शुरू से ही ये बात कहती रही है कि ये एक अनऑफिशियल इन्वेस्टिगेशन है जो हमारी पार्टी की तरफ से एक टीम गई है, बट हम लोग चाहते हैं कि इसकी एक निष्पक्ष और स्वतंत्र एजेंसी से इसकी पूरी जांच की जाए।
Meanwhile, ABVP leader Nandanam Sushil Kumar, who was named as an accused, demanded a fair inquiry into the incident and denied that he had lied about being manhandled by Rohit and other students of Ambedkar Students Association on August 3rd last year. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Now, Food Minister Ramvilas Paswan claims production of pulses will increase marginally this year. But in order to meet the supply crisis, the government will instead take recourse to imports to meet the demand. He also allayed fears that sugar output will not be enough to cater to domestic demand.
Food Minister Ramvilas Paswan on Thursday blamed a demand-supply mismatch for the crisis in pulses. He said the government will import about 45 lakh tons in order to meet the rising domestic demand. Pulse production is likely to be around 175 lakh tons this year, 3 lakh tons less than last year. Demand, however, is expected to be 235 lakh tons.
शुरू में ही इंपोर्ट हो जाने से मार्केट में पैनिक नहीं फैलता है और भी आवश्यकता और भी क्या कहते हैं कि इसमें होगा। इसके अलावा सरकार ने अपने से भी जो है अलग से जो है बफर स्टॉक जो है बनाया है और उसके लिए जो है 1.5 लाख 1.5 लाख टन का बफर स्टॉक जो है वो बफर का लक्ष्य है।
Paswan allayed fears that a deficient monsoon will cause shortages in sugar production. He said cane arrears had dropped to 27 billion rupees from 210 billion rupees in April 2015.
अप्रैल में 21,000 करोड़ गन्ना किसान का बकाया था। आज के डेट में 2700 करोड़ रुपया जो है 25 केवल 2,500 करोड़ रुपया बचा है। और जो चीज हम लोगों ने जो है गन्ना किसान को मिल मालिक को राहत दिया था, चाहे इंपोर्ट ड्यूटी का मामला हो, एक्सपोर्ट इंसेंटिव का मामला हो, इथेनॉल का मामला हो या मान लेते हैं कि सॉफ्ट लोन का मामला हो, इसका फायदा जो है किसान को हुआ है।
According to the Union Minister, the National Food Security Act will cover the entire nation by March 2016. So far, around 25 states are implementing the act, while the rest will join by March this year. Kriti Mishra's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
For the first time in 20 months, the BSE benchmark Sensex sank below the 24,000 mark, losing 100 points today. The BSE Sensex closed at 23,962, bogged down by persistent selling in Asian shares following a fresh dip in oil prices. The broader NSE Nifty also broke below the 7,300 mark, ending 32 points lower at 7,276. The rupee also fell, fueling the markets to further fall. The rupee breached the $68 per dollar mark again, and the crude oil also resumed its slide from $28 a barrel to hit fresh multi-year lows. Asian shares also closed lower, with the Shanghai index plunging 3.23%, Japan's Nikkei ending 2.43% lower, and Hong Kong's Hang Seng index losing 1.82%. However, European shares rose after the region's stocks fell the most yesterday since August last year. The National Investigation Agency today conducted searches at 5 places, including the office and residences of Punjab Police SP Salvinder Singh and his friends, as part of its investigations into the Pathankot terror attack. Singh's residences in Amritsar and Gurdaspur were searched by NIA officials. The Gurdaspur office of the SP and the residence of his jeweler friend Rajesh Verma were also searched by the NIA probe agents. The development came after Salvinder Singh's interrogation by the NIA for several days in Delhi. Singh underwent a lie detector test on Wednesday as part of the probe into the attack on the Air Force Base. He will further be subjected to behavioral tests. The NIA is questioning Singh to ascertain the sequence of events that took place after he was allegedly kidnapped on the intervening night of December 31st and January 1st by the terrorists. Singh came under the scanner after giving conflicting statements. Now, a 4-day-long All India Presiding Officers Conference started in Gandhinagar, Gujarat today. The conference is intended to facilitate a dialogue between the presiding officers of Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha and other legislative bodies in the country. Around 350 delegates from across India are attending the 78th edition of the annual conference. Lok Sabha Secretary General Anup Mishra inaugurated the conference. Secretary General of the Rajya Sabha, Shamsher Sharif, referred to the notable events of the House last year. He also informed that the last 4 sessions had lost as many as 155 hours due to disruptions.
The conference would deliberate on 3 broad themes: ushering in a new era of social development, contribution to economic development, and good governance and legislation.
This is a matter we all need to deliberate in this conference, though I believe that the problem defies an easy solution. The option before us is whether to make our rules more stringent or leave it to the wisdom of the House and the good sense of the presiding officer to deal with the incidences of disruption.
Well, time for us to take a short break. Lots more on the other side too. Stay tuned.
Sensex at 20-month low. Rupee weakens to 68 to $1. Crisis situation or an opportunity? What are the wider implications? Watch the big picture at 9:30 p.m. on Rajya Sabha television.
The Nobel Prize, because of the statutes, is only given to 3 people. The Nobel Committee spends a lot of time thinking about it and figuring out which were the key ideas that made something happen. And the more the science is, rapidly communicative, the more these controversies will happen. Do not do anything you're not interested in, because you will never do well.
Watch Eureka with Nobel laureate Professor Venkatraman Ramakrishnan only on Rajya Sabha television.
Welcome back. You're watching the news tonight. Now, severe cold wave conditions continue to rattle the northern parts of the country. Rail traffic has been severely affected as dense fog makes an appearance. Icy winds are making matters worse.
People across the northern states are battling icy winds as normal life is thrown out of gear due to a severe cold wave and a thick blanket of fog. Poor visibility due to the fog has hit vehicular movement, making it difficult for children as they head to school.
बच्चे को बहुत ठंड लग रही है, छोटे बच्चे के लिए तो बहुत परेशानी हो गई है. They can't wake up early in the morning. स्कूल आने का मन नहीं कर रहा है और स्ट्रेंथ भी कम है, इसलिए टीचर्स को भी परेशानी हो रही है.
The cold winds coming from the northwest have dropped temperatures further. Fresh snowfall and hailstorms in Shimla are forcing people to stay indoors. Road and rail traffic has also been affected.
बहुत ज़्यादा ठंड है, कोहरे से बहुत परेशान है. इसी चक्कर में गाड़ी भी यहाँ कोई नहीं आ पा रही है और काफ़ी लोग भी कल भी इस गाड़ी के चक्कर में काफ़ी लोगों ने नौकरी से हाथ धो बैठा है और गाड़ी भी समय पर नहीं आ पा रही है. इस कोहरे के चक्कर में सारी गाड़ियाँ लेट चल रही हैं.
Snowfall in states like Jammu and Kashmir and Himachal Pradesh has a direct impact on the temperatures in other northern states like Punjab, Haryana, Delhi and Uttar Pradesh. Meanwhile, the Met Department has predicted cold wave conditions to continue over the next week as well, attributing it to the northwesterly winds. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, now Kerala court today awarded life sentence to multi-millionaire Mohammad Nisham today. Nisham was accused of brutally killing a security guard by crushing him with his Hummer car about a year ago.
Multi-millionaire Mohammad Nisham was on Thursday awarded life sentence for killing a security guard by crushing him with his Hummer car about a year ago. Also known as the Bedi King, Nisham was arrested last January after case evoked widespread outrage.
The court has awarded a sentence of imprisonment for life plus a fine of rupees 70 lakhs.
Nisham rammed his SUV into the guard of his posh residential society and allegedly pinned him to the wall and dragged him for almost 700 meters as he was reportedly angry over the delay in opening the main gates of the residential complex. Later, he dumped the guard at the back of his car and drove to the parking area where he assaulted him further. The guard, who was around 50 years old, died due to his injuries in hospital a month later. Apart from the BD business, Nisham also owns hotel and jewelry business in the Middle East. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Let's now take a look at what else is making news around the country and nationwide. The CBI moved the Delhi High Court today against the trial court's verdict asking it to return documents seized by it during raids at the office of Chief Minister of Delhi, Arvind Kejriwal, and his Principal Secretary, Rajendra Kumar. The High Court refrained from granting a stay after the AAP government opposed any interim order on the petition. At least 5 people were killed and 18 injured after a school bus overturned in Gujarat's Junagadh district today. 3 victims were school children. The bus driver reportedly fled the spot after the vehicle hit the divider. Investigation is still underway. Legendary Bharatnatyam dancer Mrinalini Sarabhai passed away this morning in Ahmedabad. The 97-year-old was reportedly suffering from an infection. Besides being a classical dancer, Mrinalini was a poet, writer and environmentalist. She played a leading role in the social and art scene in Ahmedabad and was one of the first classical dancers to turn to choreography. Finance Minister Arun Jaitley today expressed hope that India can achieve 9% economic growth rate in a global friendlier climate. Speaking at the World Economic Forum meeting at Davos on Wednesday, Jaitley cautioned that volatility had become a global norm and that no country can remain insulated from it.
The bright spot in the global economy could do better, feels the finance minister. Despite falling exports, volatile currencies and jittery stock markets, Arun Jaitley feels India can clock 8 to 9% growth. The finance minister said the fundamentals of the economy remain strong, but asserted that 2 years of weak monsoons and several indigenous and global factors impacted economic progress.
The reality is that even if we are the fastest growing amongst the major economies, we all feel we can do much better. That fastest is still not good enough for India. I think our real potential is 1.5% over and above that.
Jaitley also said the global market volatility is here to stay and that no nation can be immune to the crisis.
Earlier, the world lived with a situation where after a couple of years, you could see a challenge or a crisis. But today, volatility seems to be the norm. And therefore, we have to live in that. And no country, including India, can say we are immune from it.
The finance minister emphasized that it was wrong to say the government was exploiting lower global oil prices and claimed that the cut in oil subsidy has only helped the government replan its expenditure. He also underscored that rationalization of subsidies was one of the biggest reforms that has taken place. Kriti Mishra's report for Rajya Sabha Television.
The World Economic Forum in Davos today discussed Europe's refugee crisis. German President Joachim Gauck hinted at a shift in Germany's open-door policy. He said limiting refugee numbers could be necessary and not per se unethical. Leaders also expressed concern over the tumbling global oil prices and falling shares. Here's more.
The spiraling migrant crisis became the hot topic of discussion at the first day of the World Economic Forum in Davos. Shared the burden in the refugee crisis was Serbia's clear message for its Eastern European neighbors. The German Vice-Chancellor said countries taking in migrants need to be more realistic about the challenges. Jordan said it was willing to set up special economic zone for refugees. Jordan is home to nearly 1.3 million Syrian refugees.
We need comprehensive and decisive solution. What we're going to do? Otherwise, we'll face terrible political, economic and all the other problems in an entire Europe.
Mit der Aufnahme von Flüchtlingen, die wir übrigens aufnehmen, erstmal, weil sie in Not sind, nicht so sehr in erster Linie, weil sie unser Land voranbringen können. Das hoffentlich tun sie auch irgendwann.
Falling global markets and tumbling oil prices also became a cause of worry at the World Economic Forum. After Wednesday's fall, the European markets opened at a slightly higher note on Thursday.
Drop of oil prices, Chinese slowing down, tightening liquidities of the banks, all affecting, I believe, the economy. I hope the picture will look brighter as we go on in the year. But for the moment, it doesn't look bright.
Of course, there's risk for concern. I just don't buy it at face value now. I think there's excess volatility. For some reason, markets are now more volatile. Maybe there's less liquidity. Maybe there's less market making. The fear is growth. But why this needs to generate such a high volatility is what we need to understand.
Over 2,500 leaders from various fields like business, government, international organizations are in Davos to discuss the impact of changing technology and political shifts on society and world's economy. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
The CIA will join French security personnel in helping Indian agencies provide security to French President François Hollande during his visit as the chief guest at this year's Republic Day parade in New Delhi. Heightening the threat perception, a letter warning against his upcoming visit was received by the French consulate in Bengaluru on Thursday.
Ahead of the French president's visit to India, the consulate in Bengaluru received a threat letter warning against François Hollande's visit. Bengaluru's Additional Commissioner of Police, KSR Charan Reddy, said the address on the letter indicated that it came from Chennai.
It's a threat to him that he should not come and participate in the Republic Day parade as a chief guest. At the bottom of the letter, the words Al-Qaeda are written.
Reddy said investigations revealed the address did not exist. The document received by the French consulate is a single-page letter showing a map of India. President Hollande arrives in India on January 24th for a 3-day visit. He will land in Chandigarh, where he will be received by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The French leader is the chief guest of the massive Republic Day parade in Delhi on Tuesday. Meanwhile, security has been tightened in New Delhi ahead of the Republic Day parade. Reports suggest over 70 skyscrapers near Rajpath will remain closed for security reasons. There are also reports of terror alerts in Delhi, Mumbai and Kolkata ahead of the celebrations. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Some more international news now in Global Buzz. US, France and other allies agreed to step up their fight against the Islamic State in the coming months. In the coming weeks, the coalition will be looking to push IS out of Raqqa in Syria and Mosul in Iraq. US officials are arming a group known as the Syria Arab Coalition that's now fighting the militants in Syria. An earthquake measuring 6.4 on the Richter scale hit northwestern China's Qinghai province on Thursday morning. As of now, no casualties were reported, but 40 buildings were destroyed. Armed police and rescue teams have been mobilized to search for missing and injured residents. UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon today condemned the terrorist attack at the Bachcha Khan University in Pakistan. Terrorists killed at least 20 people and wounded dozens more. In addition, the Secretary General called for proportionate measures to ensure that schools are adequately protected. European markets opened slightly higher a day after global turmoil saw billions wiped off the value of shares. London's benchmark FTSE 100 share index was up 0.5% in the opening minutes. Investors, however, remain worried over the continuing slide in oil prices and China's slowing growth. Time for us to take a quick break. On the other side, all the sports news. Stay tuned for that.
Subhash Chandra Bose gave a revolutionary edge to India's freedom struggle. Netaji, as he was popularly known, was elected Congress president twice, but left the organization in 1939 following differences with Mahatma Gandhi. He founded the Forward Bloc and the Kisan Sabha before leaving for Singapore to organize the Indian National Army. After failing to secure Soviet Union support for India's freedom struggle, he joined hands with Germany and Japan to fight the British. His slogans Dilli Chalo and Jai Hind energized millions of youngsters in India. Bose went missing in 1945 after a plane crash in Taiwan.
Welcome back. You're watching the news tonight. Some sports now, and Andy Murray nullified the most powerful serve in the game as the world number 2 beat Sam Groth at the Australian Open. Gebin Muguruza and Victoria Azarenka also eased through to the third round on Thursday. Two-time Grand Slam champion Murray, who went slamless last year, didn't give Groth a game in the first set, winning 6-0, 6-4, 6-1 in an hour and 29 minutes. He will face Sousa of Portugal in the third round. French Open champion Stan Wawrinka, who won the Australian Open in 2014, also reached the third round with a 6-2, 6-3, 6-4 win over 37-year-old qualifier Radek Stepanek. In the women's singles, Victoria Azarenka and Garbine Muguruza continued their sizzling form by scorching through the second round, moving a step closer to a potential last 16 showdown. Azarenka was almost clinical in a 6-1, 6-2 thrashing of Montenegro's Danka Kovinic. Spain's third seed Muguruza also eased past Kirsten Flipkins 6-4, 6-2 to move into the third round. Time now for all the other sports action in Sports Beat. Top Indian shuttlers PV Sindhu and Kidambi Srikanth reached the quarterfinals of the Malaysia Masters Grand Prix. Sindhu edged out Japan's Kaori 21-13, 13-21, 21-14 in a hard-fought battle. In the men's singles, Srikanth brushed aside Ponsana of Thailand 21-17, 21-10 to move into the last 8. Ajay Jairam also made it to the quarters, but it was curtains for the doubles pair of Jwala Gutta and Ashwani Ponnappa, who lost in the second round. Indian squash player Deepika Pallikal moved into the semi-finals of the Granite Open squash tournament after a convincing win over Egyptian Salma Hani Ibrahim. Deepika, who was the last year runner-up at the tournament, defeated her 27th ranked opponent 12-10, 11-2, 11-4 in the quarterfinals. Barcelona defeated Atletico Bilbao 2-1 in their Copa del Rey quarterfinal first leg. The defending champion, who were there without Lionel Messi and suspended Luis Suarez, swept into a 2-goal lead inside the first 25 minutes. With goals from El Hadidi and Neymar, Bilbao pulled a goal back in the final minutes. In another match, Atletico Madrid were held to a goalless draw by Celta Vigo. So that's the news tonight. Good night.